Hello everyone and welcome back to LEADucation Interview Skills Day 3. Today our focus will be on elevator pitches on yourself. You may be thinking, what does an elevator pitch have to do with interview skills? Well, a personalized elevator pitch is a quick introduction and a summary of yourself. Its name comes from the amount of time it should take to deliver it, the duration of a short elevator ride, which is roughly 30 to 60 seconds. Elevator pitches are sometimes thought to be specific to an idea or a product, but you can also use it to sell yourself in a professional manner. The elevator is usually utilized on one of the first casual questions during your interview. The interviewer typically won't outright ask you to say your elevator pitch. However, will pose it as a more casual question such as, "Tell me about yourself," or "Can you give me a quick introduction of yourself?" If your interviewer were to ask this, it will be one of the first, if not the first, question that you will use to impress them with. On your resume and cover letter, you may be describing your professional and skills history, but your elevator pitch at your interview is the perfect time to emphasize how passionate you are. This is a great way to stand out from the other applicants. Elevator speeches are also a really great way to utilize when networking at events. But that is a little different topic. Don't worry if you haven't thought about this yet, because our whole lesson today will be on how to form and practice for your job-specific personal elevator pitch. So what are the three main questions that we're going to answer today? So it's who are you, which is the past, what do you do, present, and what do you want to do, which is the future. These may seem very, very general, but they are good to keep in mind on how you will structure and plan out your elevator speech. Don't worry if you're still confused on what each of these mean. We will come back to them later. As we go through the elevator pitch, I want you to choose a job that you will write or bullet point or practice pitch towards. Fill out the box on the handout and feel free to pause throughout the video to write your draft. The boxes on the handout where you can put your practices are highlighted in blue. Now let's break down our elevator pitch into three main parts. Summarize past experiences, explain where you are now, and then finally call to action along with an optional brief introduction. During our lesson, keep in mind that when you write your own pitch, you don't have to strictly maintain this structure. You can express your creativity and flare it into personal elevator pitch, which is one of the great things about it. We will practice some variations with some examples later. So the first optional step, which we will call step 0 of our elevator pitch, is your brief introduction. Like we discussed during our day 2 lesson, this will be included in your initial meeting time. And if you've already introduced yourself to the person interviewing you, it'll be redundant to repeat this, so you can skip over this step. If you're at a networking event where there has been no introduction, you would shake their hand, introduce your full name, and provide information. Step 1 is the most useful if interacting in a more impromptu scenario. The first required step is to summarize your past or what you do now. Give the interviewer a background on the past information that makes you a very qualified candidate. Here's where you summarize the most important parts of your education, work experience, and other strengths or experiences that you would add to your appeal. You do not need to put everything, and you actually should not. Highlight the best points of your resume and experiences. These are often easier to understand and follow when you explain them in chronological order. Okay, so the first tip is to know your audience. Only include experience relevant to the job that you're applying to. So you don't need to include your nurse training in a computer engineer job application. Another tip is that this will make up a bulk of the elevator pitch because it is everything that has led up to the point in your life. So don't be afraid if this time takes up longer than you were expecting. Okay, so an example for this first step is, I graduated with a computer engineering degree from the University of Washington in 2012 and was offered a computer hardware specialist job at a small company I had interned with. I really enjoyed working with customers and designing new devices, but due to a lack of fast-paced innovation, I wanted to expand my horizons. After a full year of work and learning a ton about the ins and outs of small computer engineering, I ended up becoming a top performer in my group. Okay, so the second step, you'll be explaining what your current situation is. Where are you currently at your life? This can be a simple description into where in your career you are at. It will also transition to your next step of what you want your future to look like. An example for this is, continuing from the first example, I moved on to working in biomedical device engineering to incorporate my interest after medical topics. I'm currently employed at a medical ultrasound company engineering scanning devices. Okay, step 3. Our final step in the elevator pitch will be the call to action. What are you hoping to get from this interview and why are you here? Here you put the reasoning to why you're applying and also what you feel you will bring special to the table. This is basically your ask for the job and why you want this right now, along with providing some context around it. Emphasize why you are the right person for the job and not the person that was interviewed before you. What about you makes you a worthy addition to the workforce? These are the types of questions to ask yourself while preparing for your interview. But remember that it needs to be quick, strong, and to the point. But you don't have a lot of time. Who knows? Maybe the interview will ask you explicitly why you should be the one to get the job. We will go further in depth in these coming days on how to answer this question, but just remember that you only really have to spend about a minute or less to bring in all of these 3 steps. Okay, so another tip here is in order to make your speech more connected and flow smoothly, you can transition from your current situation to why you may want to change. An example for this is from the previous example. I feel ready to take the next step in my career to transition to a different area of the medical field involved more with CT scans, in order to use my extensive educational background in X-ray devices. I hope that I can find an opportunity to pursue my passions here. Okay, so an overall tip is that the only information you should include in your elevator speech is the information relevant to the audience. You can and should adjust the elevator pitch to who you're pitching to in order to make the most impact on your interviewer. In addition, make sure that what you say in the speech is a conversational way instead of in a robot voice that sounds too rehearsed. You want to keep engaging and having an interesting conversation with the interviewer, so use your voice to show it is a response more than a scripted speech that you just blurt out. Finally, make sure to express confidence in your voice and throughout your interview, of course. Setting up a confident elevator pitch makes the interviewer remember you as more confident. Now let's take a look at one more example for an interview going to our original example of becoming a manager at Target. I began my journey into my passion of management after completing my bachelor's degree in business administration. I spent 3 years building lots of professional experience as an executive assistant. Through that, I successfully managed end-to-end event coordination and built up my strong professional network for my colleagues. I wanted to expand my horizons and goals to a higher level manager now than with my years of professional experience. I've always been passionate about retail management and the possibility to use creative problem solving and engage directly with customers. Finally, we're going to read through one more example. If you were to enter into a job as an entry-level candidate, this job is for an internship position on the team for a state senator. I graduated from high school as an honors student 6 months ago. I have always been interested in political science, and I decided to take a gap year before I attended college to immerse myself deeper into this passion. During my academic career, I was school president of ASB, a distinguished member of Model UN, and taught a session at a youth leaders conference about public speaking. I just wrapped up my internship at a city's park and recreation department, so I want to focus more on my real passion for politics by interning with Senator Yu. Okay, so as you watch the course, you should have written down a rough elevator pitch by following along on your worksheet. You may choose to send us the draft and we can review it and send it to you for feedback. Good luck and see you guys for day 4.